Hi there. My name is Taylor, and I'm the Executive Project Manager for Jasmine Star and Social Curator. Today's episode is part of a recent coaching session that Jasmine hosted inside the private Social Curator community. And let me tell you, curators talked about this conversation for days afterwards. If you've ever struggled with wanting to try something new and feeling too afraid or too unsure to do so, then you do not want to miss this conversation. Let's listen in.
Let's go. Blessing. It is good to see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Good to see you too. So I wrote down my question and I kind of want to stick to it because I think I'm going to ramble. So I'll read it. How should I approach adding a product to my list of high ticket services? It's my first full-time year as an entrepreneur. Recently had my first 5-figure month, and I'm kind of realizing this feast and famine thing will play out if I don't do something about it. And so a lot of my services are high-end tech consulting, tech strategy. How do we build custom integrations, data analytics, reporting, AI, fun stuff like that. But I want to develop a VIP day where we deliver digital transformation for small businesses in 1 to 5 business days. Been iterating on that for a while, and I really want to lean in. And I find that when I start working on that, my brain defaults to long-term consulting thinking. And so my husband looked at me just this morning and said, you keep trying to pivot every product idea into a service. And I'm like, ooh, I need to shift in my thinking. And so how do I begin thinking differently about the value proposition, the profit model, the operations? How do I get past this solopreneur thinking to make this work instead of kind of going to my safety and my norm? Because I've been consulting for more than 10 years. So I know I got to make the change, but how do I jolt my brain to go with me, right?
Girl, see, this right here gives me life. This gives me life. This question is so next level that there are people who are looking at you being like, this is her first full year as an entrepreneur on her own. And this is the level of question she's asking. Hot dang, wow. Good stuff is coming. So sit in that power. You are a true inspiration to people who are watching. Number 2, it's so clear that if Blessing, we go back to this idea of Blessing talking to her husband, there are 3 perspectives, your perspective to your husband, your husband's perspective to you. And now I'm asking Blessing to step out of Blessing and look from Blessing to her husband and then express appreciation, because you defaulting to the service-based thinking is nothing more than your brain trying to keep you safe. And the minute we acknowledge that our brain is trying to keep us safe and safety is the same, your brain says, we got here, so let's not do anything else to mess this up. So we take a new idea and then our brain looks it through the prism of safety. But what if we were to look and we tell our brain, thank you, brain, for doing that, but I see what you're doing. So we're safe. Nothing is going to happen with this consulting. We're safe. Now, we might have to spend a little bit of more time and work to create a different offering, but that's a different version of Blessing. So this version, we're safe. We got this, brain. We're cool. Now we're going to experiment because we're safe. So now we're acknowledging safety in the regularity, experimentation, and freedom over here. So now we're going to tell our brain, we're not going to look at this situation, this business plan, or this idea with any sort of attachment to how it's been done. Now we're going to say, how might we? How might we have a 5-day experience with a deliverable at the end? How might we get sponsors to come into this event? What is the value proposition? And so you're having the same conversation with the same factors, with the same questions, but your perspective is entirely different because your brain is not processing through the lens of let's be safe. Your brain is now having the freedom to explore in possibility. So I'm going to invite you to have that same conversation with your husband again and say, brain, we're safe. We're okay. We got this. How might we? How might we do this? Now, I started off this conversation in this coaching session talking about consistency, and I'm going to go back to the very thing that I know that will, honest to God, insulate your 5-day value proposition. And that is to know exactly who it's for. Exactly. The person who wants the 5-day transformation is different than the person who wants the consulting. And so if you want to dwell in freedom and possibility, then you have to know, you got to do the dirty work, the heavy work of saying, who is this person? This person is different. How are they different? What do they want? What are they willing to pay? And when you create the differences between who you're serving, it actually adds more safety because now you know we're serving two different people in two different ways. So now the brain feels better because we're going back and being safe. So part of the reason we, you and me, and all of us here have a hard time finding the value prop is because we haven't clearly identified who it's for. And I'm going to be real with you right now. The team and I are working on an offer that scares me because we have never done a high ticket course. And what I want to do is being like, okay, so then what we're going to do is we're incorporate social curator and show how Dottie can. No, we're serving a different level of business owner. So we have safety and social curator, and we're going to over deliver, and we're going to cast a vision of what that business can be. But until that time, I have to go back and say, this person needs this in this way. And it's only because we say, and we actually know who we're building this for. 2 women specifically. And yesterday I got so caught in the weeds. I was like, well, we could do it like this and we could do it like this. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reach out to them and say, what would you find most valuable? What am I doing to my brain? We safe, brain. We're safe.
Yeah.
We got to look at it in a different way and serve these people. How is that feeling, Blessing?
Wow. I mean, the fact that you just shared what you did about social curator, the techie in me who's made my own fun little Dotties, right? When you said a high ticket course, I was like, I don't want to hear about Dottie in that course. Immediately, I was like, I know, I want something totally different if I do that with social curator, right? And then just click, I'm like, oh my goodness. Even though my brain connects and says, well, it's technically the same person at this phase of business, a different phase of business. But look, only God is the person present in all time. When I'm dealing with my customers at a certain place in time, they are one person. And that's exactly what I'm hearing, because even being here for so many years, I'm a very different person than I was when I joined Social Curator, right? And so it just connected and clicked so deeply that that's it. It's the person. Identify who I'm serving, and then the value proposition, the timeline, not trying to overload certain clients with too much tech stuff, right? All that fits into place, knowing who I'm talking to, what business vertical and their maturity level with their digital operations, right? So I think that really helped me snap into gear. So thank you.
Welcome back. If you take away one thing from this conversation, remember this. Knowing exactly who your offer is for will help you inform every decision you make and help your brain feel more safe as it guides you forward. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Jasmine Star Show today. If you want to learn more about the coaching and resources found inside Social Curator, head to socialcurator.com/join to start a 7-day free trial. We'd love to see you on the inside.